Osa, it is so wonderful to have you. Thank you for being vulnerable, for joining us, and your willingness to share this very emotive and personal journey that you have been on over the decades of your life. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Tamzyn. I'm happy to be here.
Good. Well, we're so happy to have you. And this is in the lead up to the launch of this amazing training that's coming up at the end of the month. On the 28th of June, the Nutrition Network, in collaboration with world expert in sugar addiction and addiction, Bitten Johnson, we are launching this professional training in sugar and carbohydrate addiction for everybody. Initially, it was, positioned to be for doctors, dietitians, allied healthcare professionals, but we've opened it up to anyone who wants to learn, coaches, because this is a really, really important topic and a very under-recognized topic. And the aim of this training that's launching on the 28th of June is to teach all sorts of people, including professionals, how to recognize and help people suffering from true sugar addiction. So we deal with screening and all sorts of techniques that you can use in order to assist people who are really struggling and suffering and identify them. And also, this is the third live in the series this month in the lead up to the launch. And I want to reiterate an amazing early bird offer and special that we have. We have got it on the launch. So if you, on this specific product that's coming out on the 28th of June, the professional training in sugar and carbohydrate addiction, you'll get 30% off if you sign up now before the 28th. But even more exciting, I think, is we're working with Bitten on creating a bundle option where you get this training as well as the preceding training on addictive eating, combined with Bitten's most amazing and exclusive, the only one in the world, training that teaches you to diagnose and treat sugar addiction. And these 3 courses will be bundled up on a special offer that's only available until the end of June. So please look in the comment section below, email us if you're interested in the bundle. Also, feel free to just sign up for the professional training alone if you want to learn how to screen and assist people with sugar addiction. But now that you know about the trainings and why we're doing this, because we want people to learn more about this real condition and be able to help people who struggle their whole lives often with this, and that's why we have Osa here all the way from Sweden to tell us about what it's been like for her, when it started for you. Have there been other addictions? Has it always been sugar? Is this something that comes on, in your later in life, or is it always there? So I'm not going to ask all that. I'll go more detail into all these specific things, but maybe start by just telling us your story.
Well, thank you very much, Tamzyn. My story is as many stories, and so mine is not so unique, but I would love to tell you a little bit. So in education, and if somebody out there is struggling. What I can see when I'm looking back is that it started very, very early age. I was like 2-3 years old, and I was only drinking. I wanted my mother's homemade juice, which is lots of sugars and with some berries, and I didn't want to eat. And they took me to the doctor, and they said, "Hey, she doesn't eat. It's something wrong with her." And the doctor said, "What does she do?" "Oh, she drinks some juice." "Oh, well, that's okay. She gets some energy." And that was what I had, energy. I was like a little turbulence person. And well, maybe I'm still am. But anyway, this continued. And it continued with the urge for sugar. In fika, the what we call in Sweden fika, we have like cakes, breads, buns, whatever, and juice. We didn't have like sodas and stuff like that when I was small. Maybe my sisters and my brother, we can share like 33 centiliters at that time at Christmas or something like that. So we didn't have that, but we had like homemade things. And also, of course, to have some money and go and buy some candies. So it was early. And actually, I had also problems with the food in itself. I didn't have time to eat, so I wanted it quick early on. So that was carrying on. And when I came up in, like school age, and I had some problems there, and I couldn't be myself. I was very sensitive. So I was like, how do you say that? Taking care of myself by eating. When I came home from school and my mother had put something, in the freezer or in the fridge for me to eat, mostly it was ice cream or something sweet after school, and I was comforting myself. Yeah,
Comforting.
exactly. And it was going on and on, and then I was about maybe 10. I start to sneaky smoking cigarettes. Yeah. And my friends didn't like it. I loved it almost from the first, like cigarettes. Ooh, this is nice. So I started smoking as an early age. And also in that moment, it was, I'm born 1965. It was usually everybody was smoking everywhere. That was the issue. So the smoke came in, and also with alcohol. The first time I tried it, I was like 11, 12, something like this. And I tried the alcohol, and I was like, yeah, this is something nice. So I can see backwards, when I'm looking back at it, it's all about the sugar from the beginning. I was making my contact in my brain, like big street. And I made it bigger and bigger. So I had like all kinds of action here: sugar, food, carbohydrates, and then was cigarettes, and then it was alcohol. Yeah. So that was.
Sarah, I just wanted, what I'm hearing, what I'm noticing is that, it sounds, and this is what Bitten Johnson says, and everyone in these trainings, it's a constant theme, is that previously we thought that this was, maybe a problem with willpower, or a problem with, psychological problem, but it is a primary disease. It is a primary disorder, a physiological thing in the brain. And by listening to your story, just so far, I know that it carries on, and I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of it, but already I'm seeing very obvious. It's very, very obvious when you show that already at the age of 2 or 3, you are choosing sugar, albeit, fruit juice. You're choosing sugar over a whole diet, really, overeating, and already it's deleterious to health. The doctor might say, oh, it's fine, you're getting your energy, but you're not getting everything you need. You're not getting all the cholesterol your brain needs to develop. You're not getting the omega-3 fats that your brain needs to develop. So, now with hindsight, it was already destructive. And as you say, you're already developing and strengthening those pathways of addiction from that young age, making the road, as you say, big, so that you were predisposed and worse, even more predisposed when you were exposed to other psychoactive substances, because you had already sensitized and prepared your psychoactive pathway for the drugs to follow, the smoking and the alcohol. And also the fact that you refer to your friends, like they could give, some of them probably didn't like it, they could, leave it or take it. The fact that it was from the first taste, you're like, this is it. There's something good here. That again shows that it's intrinsic to your brain neurology. That addictive propensity was there from the very start. So anyone who argues that, I don't know how you can argue that within this context. And I just wanted to emphasize that before you move on, because this is key. This is very, very key to addiction, because based on this, you cannot go and treat addiction as if, it is work on trauma and work on all these other things when it is a primary illness. You need to go in and fix the biochemistry, the biology, work within this physiological difference in order to set yourself up for, and we'll get more into that, but I just wanted to emphasize that before we move on. Okay, move on. So now you're 11, 12, and you're like, oh, I like smoking. I like this drinking business too, and take us from there.
Yeah, and then the teenage time came with all the hormones, and everything comes with that, and you go up in weight and down in weight and up, and all of a sudden you're very aware of the body and everything that is growing and here and there. And so I started to control it, try to control it anyway, but I didn't succeed. Because then I was like, okay, I can eat some sweet, but I don't eat food. I was controlling it because I didn't have any experience or knowledge about this. Of course not. And she have a sweet tooth, she likes things, but I wasn't overweight. Not when I was in my teenager, but I thought I was, but I wasn't. So this also, the controlling start early, hearing about others who are controlling, and you get like, okay, I can do it as well. But I was never, ever, ever succeeded with it, because I always had the urge to eat sugar, something sweet. If it was sweet bread, or if it doesn't matter. It's sugar in it.
Yeah.
So there's
never
clear, yeah.
Control, yeah.
Yeah, and I lose control every time. Yeah, I couldn't stop eating. And what's happening when I went older was that alcohol was taking over. I could drink alcohol instead of eating. So that was another control. I tried to control. The brain is like, when I knew that I had a brain damage, I was like, yes, finally. Sounds crazy, but I come to that. I can
finally understand. I can finally know why I was never in control, And also something else I want to kind of just emphasize, these things that I'm hearing in your story that people will get in the course as well, is this addiction interaction disorder.
Yeah.
Where you go from one addiction to another because it's the same pathway, it's the same reward pathway, irrespective of the psychoactive substance. And as you were a teenager, you became worried about body weight. You didn't want to eat too much, but you didn't want to get rid of those things that made you feel so good. So you found ways to include them while trying to get around the weight concern. So that's really interesting that there you're choosing the last thing you want to do is do away with the psychoactive substances, right? And that tells you, if you're not willing, if you're looking for every excuse not to do away with those, I'd rather don't eat, as long as I can have, my alcohol or my sweets. That already tells you, right? I mean, with hindsight, it's so clear, isn't it, also?
Yeah.
But when you're at the time and you're a teenager, and this is why people need to be helped. This is why people need to learn how to recognize, and the professionals need to learn how to recognize these signs.
Yeah. Sorry, Tamzyn. You said before also this is not something about the trauma or emotional things. The problem is that the sugar and the things that it makes your brain really go mad makes trauma and psychology problems with it. Yeah. So it's like many levels, but it's not, I was eating because trauma. No, I was starting early age, 2-3 years old, with sugar. And I was like, wow, something happening. And I was already, so I can see it. People is talking about the will. You don't have any willpower and things like this. And they have to understand and learn addiction. That it's actually a brain damage. It starts in the brain, and you can see it in PET scans and things like that, and also the biochemical repairing. But we come to that.
Yes, we come to that. All right. It's very exciting to draw in these things, these important concepts that people can take from your story. So I like that we're highlighting them. But yes, we are getting ahead of ourselves. So take us on from there. So now you're turning to alcohol, you said, because you're worrying about getting overweight, and you're still looking for the psychoactive substance, and you're in your late teens now, right?
Exactly. And then I I'm working, and I was working in the hotel branch, and the hotel restaurant. Yeah. So it's a lot of alcohol there. So of course, and I couldn't see that I had any problem, because everybody around me was the same. We always took a beer or two or five after work, or whatever. I never ever thought I had a problem because I was working, I was paying my bills. I had a picture in my brain about people who was drinking, sitting on the benches, like really bad. But I was working. I was taking care of myself, and but I gained weight. And then it starts again, to try to go down in weight. And I was trying some other substance, but it was bad for me. So I, starving, starving, all kinds of diets, like water diets, like uh, many, many different kinds of diets. I've been really trying since early age, and nothing works, of course, because and I felt bad, and all this emotion with that. And life goes on. Of course, I was living abroad for 8 years. I was living in Greece. I was living in Norway. I moved around, and I can see it very clearly that I was like, think that next place is going to be better. Next place is going to be better for me. That I was doing like a geographic escape. It didn't work. It was still with me, unfortunately. And then when I came back, and I went pregnant with my son, um, then I just stopped drinking and smoking, as I was, because I didn't know that I had a problem. I didn't know that. So I was just stopped drinking and smoking, and now, yes, I'm going to be a mother. And all of a sudden it was like something open under my feet, and I was start eating instead. Again, I was like back. Now I can see it, not then, but now I can see what I was doing. I was just changing the substance. Sugar, cigarettes, nicotine, alcohol, and back to sugar, and fast food, and carbohydrates, like binge for that. And I was, of course, raising in my weight, and many things. I had some problems with my thyroid and stuff like that. But then I heard about this fantastic person, Bitten, in south of Sweden. And a friend of mine went to her and got helped. And and she started sending me information about this Bitten, but I was like, it's probably good for her, but maybe I could go there just for the food. Yeah. Well, the story is that I went down 1996, met Bitten on the first, like gathering together with a small group. The first group she had, I was primary group. We called the pioneers. Yeah. And Bitten had the rudeness to tell me that I was an alcoholic. I was like, what? You mean I'm an alcoholic? Yeah, you are. I was like, no, I'm not. I went so mad. But as the course went on, and I started to learn what is actually happening, she wanted to send me to a treatment home directly. And I was like, no, I'm a mother. I have my son. And I was thinking, I'm going to show them I'm not an alcoholic. No. But here I was learning about sugar addiction. My brain was giving me something, waking. It was awakening me. Of course it did. And after that, I think I went twice to Bitten in 1996. And then I took a hard relapse with alcohol. And for about 3 months, I think, and then I called Bitten and I said, I need help. I really need help. Yeah. I couldn't control anything. With knowledge, with the experience of, open your heart, and all of a sudden you have the knowledge. You can't drink on knowledge. You can't eat on knowledge in the way. Of course, I did anyway, but I come to that. But, it went like, oof. So 1997, I went down to Hudiksvall, the 12th of February. This is a very important date for me because I went sober from alcohol then. And I've been sober from alcohol since then. 28 years today. Yeah. So thank you for that. So the story is long, but the knowledge and the to find out that it's not me that is something wrong with. It's something that my brain creates, and I can actually do something about it, which is hard. It's not so easy. But if I don't take the first bite, if I don't eat this sugar or whatever, not white sugar, it doesn't matter if it's white sugar, brown sugar, red sugar, it doesn't matter, or if it's bread or if it's whatever, don't take the first bite, then I'm calm. And this is the big issue, problem for me anyway. And I think that is also a struggle for everybody who have, like me, made so many different kinds of diets, because it reminds you of diet in the beginning if you don't have the knowledge. When you have the knowledge, you can lay on it like, yeah, it's my brain. Right now, I need this. 1 second at a time. Okay, 5 seconds. I put my egg watch. Oof. Oh, now I have craving. And I put 5 minutes. Okay, and then it calls. So, yeah. So that's a little bit of it.
Wow. Also, I just take my hat off to you that you were that brave and that you didn't just run away as soon as bitten said you're an alcoholic, because if you're not acknowledging that, that's not what you want to hear, right? And I think many people would leave. They would say, okay, no, I don't, this woman's talking rubbish. I don't identify with that. I don't want to hear that. I'm leaving. But you stayed and you learned.
Yeah.
And I mean, firstly, I think that was a huge step. The fact that you asked for help is huge as well. Very brave, very, very brave. And then it sounds to me like that big relapse with alcohol was almost your, like you say, it was that date. It was your turning point, right? That was your point where it was your aha moment, your rock bottom, your whatever you want to call it, where you made the decision that you were not going to let this control you anymore, and you were going to do what you needed to do to treat yourself with the knowledge that you had in a way that actually would work, you know? Yeah. So is that right? Was it that relapse that really turned you around?
Yeah, sort of, but also the knowledge that what I've been doing, that I've been eating my way to sleep, and before, also this, it was a sadness, of course, and it was like, oh my God, what have I done to myself? But in the same time, it was like a relief, yeah. So, and also that I got treatment. I got treatment for the alcohol problems. I was, and I was too bitten as well in the same time, talking to her one-to-one. And then I went back to north of Sweden and I started school and and I went to another school, and then I was relapsed at 2001, I think, 2001, really badly in food, in sugar, in like carbohydrates, like junkie totally, because I was studying. My brain wanted, when you study, your brain goes really bananas and really wants everything because you have to study and it takes lots of energy. And so I again asked for help because they couldn't help me here in our system here. So finally they gave me the opportunity to be at fitness, and I went there for 7 weeks inside the treatment home, and that was absolutely the best I've done in all my life, because it not only made me relax and find a way out, it also helped me for the rest of my life, because I have relapsed. It's like this.
Yeah.
And I can see the relapses come. We have made the sugar, me and Bitten and a colleague of her, Petra, and I can see it so clear. Even if I know and I have the knowledge and I have that, sugar is, it's like you see it everywhere. You see it in the TV and the shops. You have to buy it. You have to eat. You have to check what's inside. La 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 la. So this is something that it's really frustrating, as it was before in '97. 1997. It's not now. People know. People have knowledge. They have, but still, that. Well, why are we not eating that? Or why do now?
Yeah.
Because I get problems. If somebody asks me, why don't you drink? I said, well, I have drunk enough. So that's end of the discussion.
Yeah.
But with food, and they see me, I gain weight, I go down in weight. We have this ground of shame and things like
Yeah.
that. Actually, we have to take away the stigma. Please, we have to me, myself, and we have to take off the stigma with that. Person
Absolutely.
needs help. Yeah.
Yeah. See it as a intrinsic neurological wiring, a neurological wiring that some
Yeah.
people experience, and moderation is impossible. Absolutely impossible. So, also, what I want to understand now is how it felt or how it feels because I think with alcoholism there's a lot more acceptance, right? People know, okay, I think they might, I feel like there's more grasp and understanding of even there, maybe not enough, but I feel like people don't understand what sugar addiction looks like. They might say, well, everybody likes to eat, most people, well, there's so many people who don't just want one piece of chocolate. They might eat half the slab of chocolate, or like, sugar's nice. Yeah, it tastes nice. Like, why is this whole addiction thing coming up? It's not alcohol. It's not causing you to beat your wife. It's not causing you to, shoot up cocaine in your veins and die of an overdose. So
But it's the same. It's the same as I could shoot chocolate in my veins, but it's
so explain that to us.
Yeah. No, but
it feels. Tell us how, because you've got alcoholism as well going on. So tell us, compare them for us.
No, but I think like this. When you start, you drink a little bit or eat a little bit, and you get like, woo, nice feeling, and then it goes on, and all of a sudden you have to drink more to get the same reaction, or eat more, or because it doesn't happen anything, and then it goes to a level that you again get like sensitive. So you have to drink a little to get like tipsy or whatever, and the same with the food or the sugar. So it's very like, it's like you open something under your feet, and it's like you just fall down. And wow. When I was drinking, I was drinking myself to sleep. When I was eating myself to sleep. And it doesn't matter. It's not so much about, binge eating, yes, of course, but it was also binge eating because I had alcohol before that you can have, a certain amount of. To compare that, to have the same feeling with the food, I had to eat an amount of food, to get the same stimuli in my brain. I didn't know that. I know that now. So it is a lonely place to be if you are by yourself and you have the addiction. And to be around people that doesn't understand, it's hard. So then you have to search yourself for people who understand you. So that the self groups, in the AA and all this helps others groups, it's been very, very important for me. Many years and still are. I go in and out, but still it is important to meet people, to talk to people, to understand you, because when you do, you get like happy things in your brain happening when you're not alone. To be alone is a bad place to be. It's a bad place.
And do you feel that it affected your relationships? Do you feel it's affected your work? Do you feel it's affected, like you said, obviously your sleep? How do you feel that the sugar and carbohydrate addiction has affected your life? If you look back over your life, what can you see?
Yeah, I can see stress. Still today, I'm a high how do you say that, high performer, and I have a high stress all the time. But when I was eating, it was more stress, and sitting in the car and driving fast, and I dropped my chips on my floor, and I had to, it was risky. I was risking myself. The alcohol was not the same. It was not, probably I was risky as well, but I didn't drive when I was drunk. But I had like control over it. I was working, I was paying my bill, I was doing the right thing. It's like I was holding it, like, but with knowledge, I was like flipping out. Yeah, of course. So to have that, the feeling of constant talking in my head. What am I going to eat when I get home? Do I have anything in my cupboard? Do I have something there? Oh, should I go by? Oh, should I go by the petrol station, or shouldn't I go by the? Oh no, they have. Oh, blah blah blah. This Bitten calls it red dogs in my brain. Constant thinking about what to eat, when to eat, how to eat, and not. Oh no, I shouldn't. Blah blah blah. I don't have place for anything else. And it's draining me, so I can't have normal relationships, because I'm not there. I'm in this bowl of addiction, whatever. I've been a nicotinist for extreme many years, from 10 years old until 57. I was stopped smoking at 1999. But we have something like snus in Sweden. We put it under our lip, yeah, and it's tobacco, yeah. So, and I was doing that until I was 57 years old, yeah. And what do you think happened when I went 57 years old and stopped with the snus?
You ate. You started eating again.
Exactly. I was so in withdrawal, like bad. My brain didn't work, and my temper was terrible. And then I was eating again. Yeah. And I couldn't see the connection then. I couldn't see it. Yeah. So it's like constant alerting, be alert. That is takes some minute. But the thing is, when I eat well, good, get met, how do you say that? I get full. Almost talking switch. I get full, but I get calm. I'm not eating myself to sleep. I'm eating myself to feel relief and calm. I don't have these words anymore in my head. I don't have this. Should I not? Blah blah blah. What should I? No. I have a plan. I have a coach. I have the group. I have my cushions around me, like when you're in the car, if you smash the car, you have all this cushion coming out. And I have that now, the cushions around me.
I love that analogy. And you have to actually set yourself up for success. It sounds like you have to protect yourself and preempt the relapse, because when you are an addict, you are always an addict. You were an addict from, 2, 3, probably birth. Your wiring is that way. And once you recognize that, and once you recognize that you go from one psychoactive substance to another, once you recognize that cycle, and you realize how it works, that it's not a psychological failing, it's not a willpower failing, it's a neurological wiring, and what to do about it, including, the metabolic thing, like you've just said. You have to fix, and I think we can get into the biochemistry. You have to fix your biochemistry. And you alluded to this earlier when you said it's not the trauma that caused the addiction. You said, but the addiction caused trauma and stress and all these other psychological things. So, and the evidence is in line with that. If you look at mental health conditions, they all share 6 metabolic underpinnings that are wrong. The mitochondria is dysfunctional. There's oxidative stress. There's inflammation. There's microbiome issues. There's
resistance. Yeah,
exactly. There's insulin resistance, like you said. Yeah, there's actually neurological, like, let's say, neurotransmitter problems, but that they can be affected by inflammation, by all those other things. Exactly. So they aren't necessarily the first thing that happens. But if you can fix the metabolism, the biochemistry, and provide a quiet brain, a calm brain, as you've described so beautifully, then from there, you've almost now got the right soil, the right bedding, if you will, to grow something that is more healthy, to be able to deal with all those other things that come at you, provided you have these other structures and, you know, systems in place that you've described. So I think that's really beautiful. So what do you do now? I mean, it sounds like you have quit all these things, although some of the issues have been relatively recent, a few years ago.
Well, very recently I had a relapse in food. And I have been, how do you say that, off from work because of depression and burnout. My brain was totally, I was working too hard. So that is also a line, you know, that I haven't the diagnosed, but I can see that I go from this addiction, work hard a lot, you know, like it's trying to, I have to constant go. And all of a sudden I meet this wall and I have these 17 cars, you know, wagons behind me. And all of a sudden I just off, you know, it's like back out, you know, and
almost all or nothing. This all or nothing personality that I see, you know, and that's why I find that addicts are often amongst the most successful driven people you can meet. Not that one wants to, I mean, dump anyone in one category, but I mean, if you throw the willpower card at an addict and say, oh, you don't have enough willpower, that's why you drink, that's why you eat, that's why whatever you do, then look at what the addicts have so often actually achieved. Look at how hard so many of them work. I think it's the same. It's like the flip side of every coin. You know, you have a pro and you have a con. It's this all or nothing personality where you often end up being amazingly successful in your career, working incredibly hard. In the same way, it's in neurology. It's in neurology, you know. And I think the fact that you also acknowledge that these kind of triggers, they can be triggers as well. You know, the stress, the depression, putting yourself in unhealthy positions where you're more likely to relapse. You know, it sounds like that's the kind of thing that also has been happening, right?
3 times in my life I've been, you know, off like that, and been in depression and not able to work and things like this, and it's been hard sometimes, but I always, you know, like, then I came back, and then I, you know, I usually say no scale of gray, or I have off and on. I don't have a dimmer. How do you say that? With the light? No, I have an off and on button.
Wow.
But what I wanted to make also clear that the important thing in my life has been the knowledge and also the help, because I can't do the biochemical, for myself. I don't know what I need. I need help to do that. And thanks for Bitten and my friends and early friends. I've been working with them for 8 years, you know, before, with addiction. That was, as you said, the addiction person also starts to rebuild himself and become a counselor. But that we need help. We need help from outside. We can't do it. I can't do it by myself, even with my knowledge and my experience. And I feel like I'm like also 3 years old again. Hello, I don't want to drink juice anymore. Can you please help me? Sometimes I you know, it feels like that. So I think it's wonderful to have this material that Bitten is providing, and now with the education that is absolutely necessary. I'm so happy that it's actually happening now with sugar that you have, and that also that we have to learn about this biochemical in our brain, and the also the healing of it. How do we do the healing? How can we do it? You know, we can. I'm proof of it.
Absolutely. So also, what would you say the key components of relapse prevention and recovery are? So you say, you know, you need help, you need assistance. Can you kind of maybe outline the key components of relapse prevention and recovery for you? What do you feel they were or are?
For me it was to go against my shame first to go against it and actually meet up with a bit and all my friends and say, wow, I need help, this is bad, that I go to myself and how do you say, accept it, but you also I'm honest in my struggle there and then. When I'm honest, I can open my heart and take help with, for me. And I was open. I was like, poof, and things happening, nice things immediately. I know the 12 steps program. I use that as well. I have 28 years as a alcoholic, but and I can also use it now. And that is acceptance and also the honest, but also that not being myself, have some coach or some sponsor or whatever you call it, have a group, have some community to call. I was calling immediately, start calling friends and have the connection. I'm not by myself. Of course I need a plan, and then I had a professional for that. Food plan, I do, and we try that and see what's happening, and it went very well. And then I also think this about the because of the disease is like physical, psychology, socially, emotionally, all these things. So I need this. I need the meditation. I need to do my go out in the forest, out in the sun every day. I do my walks. Okay, I can exercise, but that's not, take it easy, not doing everything. I'm the first to say that don't do everything in the same time. I'm a little bit bad at that. But all these things that I have regret myself because I have focused on eating, I'm taking back. What do I love? What do I like? I love dancing. I haven't been dancing for years. I'm like putting on the stereo and whoo. I need singing. I need friends. I need, of course, my son, but he's in Stockholm, so he's far away, but I miss him. I need my family, my friends. So I think this is the, okay, I think I said like 20 things for you now. I didn't highlight anything, but I think that it's for me anyway, it's been very, very important. And first of all, my own way to just embrace this and try to not be ashamed because I was relapsing. Yeah. Everybody does, unfortunately. I don't wish anybody for that, but it's happened. Yeah. And to just say, no, I have to start over. No, you're not starting over. You go further. You still going. You relapse, okay, but you go back to to do it, but don't try to not take the first bite. Yeah, that could be a disaster. Yeah, and that is the key. Yeah. Also so for the professions to understand this.
No moderation. Abstinence is what you need in addiction. I mean, and also I think very much going back to the first step, which you said was the doing away with the guilt and the self-acceptance, the self-compassion as well. So I'm hearing that, and then linked to that is creating a lifestyle around yourself that makes you happy, calm, so whether that's your walking or your dancing or your singing or your sunshine or whatever it is, your reading for some people, whatever. It's creating a lifestyle around yourself that puts you in a psychologically healthy place where you are less likely to be in the position where you're going to relapse. And then the other thing I'm hearing is the support and the help around you. You know, having a support structure, a social structure, all of that is very, very important. So, and then something else you've been mentioning, which I also mentioned, was the biochemical repair. Can you tell us what that is to you? How do you, when you say that, what do you mean?
Yeah, well, everything that I told you is helping the brain to, but quite physically, I get help from Bitten and to see this with the sugar I was doing lately, and to see if I need some complements like GABA or some vitamins, minerals, whatever, if it's something is lacking, just to be, she was telling me that my mitochondrion is in coma. My mitochondrion is in coma. You need to wake them. Yeah. So I need some supplements. Let's say that. Yeah. And it could be absolutely different from everybody. Somebody maybe don't need it, but I need it because of the healing that I need my brain and also my mitochondria and my body, because it's also when you've been eating and binging or whatever, sugar here and there, and your body is tired, of course. So slowly, very, not like pushing it, and try to, even if I
Yeah,
very difficult
absolutely.
but
That makes sense. So it's the diet plan combined with targeted and individualized supplementation based on your needs, which is so important. So I just want everyone to know that this is the kind of thing that you'll be learning within this course.
Exactly.
So that you can recognize, screen, and then help.
The screening is crucial. That's the most important thing in the end, that you have to in the beginning, so you can. Then it's also about this, who is doing it, and if you're ready for it, because it could be, it's the truth. So, but I think that it's fantastic that you're going to learn that. I think that is great. Yeah.
And you weren't always ready for it. It sounds like, I mean, the readiness for change is a key thing as well, which I'm sure, will also be covered, where you have to be at that point where you're ready to listen, you're ready to change.
Yeah. Or you maybe I'm not ready, but when I meet people who is ready and can help me and make me see, if I go to a professional and this person can see me and say, hey, I can see you, in the way of, you have this problem, we can fix it. I can help you. It's like, it's not me that I have to, I have this strength. I'm not strong enough, blah, blah, blah. It's not.
Yeah. And also, I find it's much easier to acknowledge something when you know that there's something you can do about it. I find, it's always much harder if you see something, you almost know it's a problem in the corner of your mind, but you don't want to acknowledge it because you actually don't know what to do about it. If you acknowledged it, you would be lost. And so, if you can acknowledge it while simultaneously being offered a hope, a solution, a strategy, then you're much more likely to be willing to even acknowledge it, right?
Exactly. And this, what I said, that you need this safeness. You need that. Yeah, because even me that had all this knowledge, I was lost for a long time. I was lost, and I forgot. It was like, oh, it is not for me, blah blah blah. I was lost, and all of a sudden I was like, I'm here again. And it was also, this connection in my brain that is like relapse connection. That's hard. It's still going 24/7. But I also have a street in my brain that is my recovery. So as much as I can go over for the relapse, when I went over to the recovery, that was strong, and that was like instant. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm very grateful for that. I'm happy. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think it's wonderful that you're offering, you're offering hope. You're showing people what you have been through, this long journey, and offering hope and potentially a shortcut, to people don't have to go through all the decades and decades. They can get there earlier now, with this, which is, it saves so much trauma, so much this chatter. I remember for our last training, which was on a carnivore animal-based diet, I interviewed 3 eating disorder patients who had recovered from anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder, binging, purging, all that kind of thing. They actually were recovered. And each one of them referred to exactly the same, this chatter, this food chatter that's unrelenting. It won't let you go. And it stopped many of them from getting out of bed, from going to work, from interacting with people around them, all sorts of things. And
it's the same disease. It's the same disease. I say it starts with the sugar. uh, but it takes different ways, but it's the same.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
7 difference, it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would go as far as to say that all mental health conditions, even if we're talking about depression or anxiety, or schizophrenia or bipolar or even neurological conditions, they've got these
ADHD.
underlying biochemical aberrations, dysfunctions that happen in the brain, and there's just different outlets, different ways different people exhibit these dysfunctions, these biochemical dysfunctions. One person, it might come out as depression. One person, it might come out as addiction because that's the propensity. Or in another person, it might come out as, anorexia. But it's these metabolic biochemical aberrations within the brain, the neurology, that is just having these different outlets. So I totally agree. I know we're drawing short on time, and there were 2 more points I really, just out of my morbid curiosity, was very interested in. One was you mentioned you had lots of other diets you went on. You had veganism and macrobiotic diets and calorie restriction and all these other diets. Why didn't they work? And
because it was carbohydrates for me, and it was like rice. I went to a rice diet for like 6 weeks, and I was gaining weight. I mean, I'm allergic. I think my body is allergic to that, and it didn't work. And I was binge eating because it was too, it didn't give me, and it was always, like searching for something, because I wasn't how do you say that? I wanted something all the time because I was hungry all the time. I didn't have any fullness. I didn't feel any fullness for that food I was eating. And then, for example, I don't want to talk bad about these diets, but for me, it was like catastrophe, because all of a sudden they say, you can eat as much potato you want. I mean, tell that to them. And then it doesn't matter if it's potato or if it's ice cream, because I can eat as much, that is what my brain here, I can eat as much as I want, even if it's something ridiculous as potato. But anyway, it didn't work because I couldn't hold on to it. I couldn't hold on to it because I wasn't full, and I went over to, and I slipped. And I felt bad again, and all of a sudden I was in a bad relapse, and I was like, then it didn't work for me. No. When I had the knowledge, that was something else. Then I had my food plan, and I had different kinds, and also about the nutrition, the new things coming, like LCHFD. I don't know the name in English, but anyway, but they could eat like milk products. That was like poison for me. I was relapsing with that, with cream. So I was eating absolutely perfect, but I took a relapse on the cream. So it's really, different from every person. Every person is different. But for me, it's like, what did my parents eat when they were small? They were eating like fish and elk or whatever, meat. No vegetables.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, they weren't being fed juice from a young age, and that brings me to the theory that addiction and some of these things, they can affect our babies as well. It can be passed from generation to generation because of epigenetic changes that happen. And I was wondering, you mentioned your pregnancy and how you obviously stopped your alcohol and cigarettes because you weren't an addict. And then
I didn't know.
And then you ended up going over to eating, these processed foods.
I was eating macrobiotic at that time when I was.
So how do you think that has affected? Do you feel that it has affected your son at all? Do you feel
100%? No, not when I was pregnant, but when I was withdrawal from sugar, and he said, "Oh no, are you going to finish sugar now?" Because I was, I had a mood, and I was feeling so bad about. He was not old when he said that to me, and that I can feel like, Ooh, what have I done? Yeah. But he also had the program with him in the way of that, we were saying that the God gave me granted, when he was very little. So yeah, he had the experience, and but he's a good kid today. He's 31 years old, so he's a grown up, and yeah, I'm
And
happy. We can talk about it. And I said, oh my God.
And he's watched you on this journey. So I think that
Yeah,
is a wonderful
yeah,
thing that he can learn.
yeah,
He's learned to recognize it. He's
yeah,
learned all the signs, symptoms, and he can watch you on the journey and
yeah.
take those lessons with him as well, which, I think there's
I
always
hope.
pros. There's always pros to these struggles,
Yeah.
Um,
I'm also saying, as to everybody that I'm working, that we are doing the best we can in that moment. We can't do anything about it today, but we can do something today, but we can't do what we did there. But also
Yeah.
about forgiveness, to have, to talk about it and forgive each other. And it's very important to forgive yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really important. It comes back again to that self-compassion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So looking back on your journey, talking about actually forgiveness, let's recognize the things you've done right. Also, what do you feel like? What are you most proud of in this whole journey for yourself?
Well, that that I haven't given up. I have given up in but wow, I've been doing this since 1995, 96. So that's quite a time. And I'm proud that I have successive, yeah, I'm proud of my
Your
life.
tenacity and your diligence and your thirst for knowledge, and
Yeah,
you're picking yourself up and brushing yourself off,
yeah.
and and your bravery in sharing this and helping others.
Yeah, I hope, and yeah, I really this is what I hope for, and I've been working with it also before, and I feel that I met some very nice people come to me when we were at the place here in April, and they said, "Oh, Åsa, you gave me my first food plan. You saved my life," and I was like, "Oh, and this is the thing. If I can help one." But this was many people who came to me, so that was great.
Yeah. You're making a real difference.
Yeah.
And so also, just as a closing kind of gift to the audience who is listening, if there are people out there who are going through similar struggles to you, what would you like to share with them? Let's say, imagine yourself at your worst, place that you've been to, and you're speaking back to yourself or to other people like you. What message can you leave them with today?
Search for help. Search for help. Don't be alone. You are not alone. We are many out there that have the same problem as you have, if you have that. And there are so many people who are willing and openness to help you. So I wish you can search for that. And you have the pages for sugar and everything. You can go in there. I think you have Tamzyn's probably, you put out some contacts, sites or whatever, so everybody can actually search for help for real.
Thank
Because
you.
you're not alone. Okay.
Thank you. That's very important message. So yes, please feel free to get in touch with Nutrition Network and Bitten Johnson, and take this course, take the bundle, learn more about it, and get in touch. So I just want to say thank you so much to the audience for listening. Please reach out to us. And most importantly, also, thank you so much for sharing your time, your experiences, and your expertise through this long, hard-wrought journey of yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.